Hello and welcome to my recap video of what happened last week in Doha, Los Cabos, and Rio de Janeiro. I am thinking of making this into a weekly thing where I talk a little bit about what happened in the previous week of tennis. And as mentioned, last week was in Doha, Rio, and Los Cabos. And this was an insane week of tennis. So much unexpected happened and so much shocking happened last week. And I will try to do my best to cover everything and do a breakdown of my thoughts on the tournaments and specifically the finals. Starting with Doha, where Karen Khachanov wins his seventh title of his career as he beats Jakub Mensik in the final. And I want to talk about Karen Khachanov, and I will do so. I'll just start by mentioning Mensik is, of course, the biggest talking point of this last week. He played absolutely historical and incredible tennis last week in Doha. And I want to dive very deep into that. Quickly on Khachanov, he gets a bye in the first round as he is the second seed. And from there, he beats Fabian Marozsan, Emil Ruusuvuori, Alexei Poprin, and then, of course, Jakub Mensik in the final. On paper, that is not the toughest draw that you can get. That is not the toughest final run that you'll ever see. But Khachanov played some exceptional tennis all throughout the week. He was broken in his very first service game against Fabian Marozsan, and part of that was the fact that it was a very windy week in Doha, and he needed a bit of time to get used to that. But once he did, he never looked back. He played absolutely incredibly. He was so good at hitting unpredictable forehands, and he just controlled his matches, really. He looked like he had so much energy, and he could have played 2-3 more matches if the scheduling had forced him to. He beats Marozsan in convincing fashion after that early break. He then defeats Ruusuvuori after only 3 games, as Ruusuvuori had to retire from the match with injury. Then he plays an insane first set against Alexei Poprin, where he wins 14-12 in the first set tiebreak, before Poprin then got a few physical issues in the second set. And then in the final, plays another set that goes to 14-12 in the first set tiebreak, and then wins in 2 sets against Mensik. So Khachanov didn't drop a single set all week. And therefore, I also think this title run isn't going to have a huge physical effect on him heading into Dubai. Now, just a quick word on Mensik. He defeated Alejandro Davidovich Fokina for his first top, I think, 25 win of his career. And he then defeated Andy Murray in a 3-hour and 22-minute match, the longest in the history of the ATP tournament in Doha, against Andy Murray. And he then defeated Andrei Rublev for his first top 5 win in his career, and played out a 3-set match against Gael Monfils. And during this week, throughout this week, Mensik has shown he can basically do anything. He can defend incredibly well. In the game against Monfils, they were just trading back and forth of who could defend the best. Monfils had some incredible points where he would just be running from side to side and then finishing with an outrageous down-the-line backhand winner. Mensik had points where he defended from side to side and ended up with an incredible winner. Both players defended so well. Mensik also showed that he can play out these long, grueling matches as he did against Murray, which did affect his fitness throughout the rest of the tournament. Against Rublev, you're of course going to defend a lot, and he kept running side to side to side to side as Rublev just tried to throw him all around the court. And he just showed so much composure, Mensik. And whenever it was tough for him on his serve, if Rublev was, a couple of times Rublev was up by love 40 and still didn't break Mensik, because on the pressure points, Mensik was just so calm and collected. In that match against Rublev, I completely fell in love with Mensik's backhand. He hit so many backhands, both down the line and also just forcing Rublev to hit backhand to backhand, where, of course, Rublev isn't as strong as he is when he gets to dictate with his forehand. And then later on in the tournament, when he played Gael Monfils, he also showed me that his forehand is not as good as his backhand, but can absolutely do a lot of damage as well. I still think his backhand, though, is his best shot. He also showed an incredible ability to go to the net. He especially used it against Rublev, where Rublev isn't the guy who goes to the net very much, and Mensik absolutely took advantage of that. I think he could have actually used it even more than he did. And he just showed such a big variety of things that he can do. His serving is, of course, one of the big talking points, where he picks his spots so well when serving. Now, getting into this final with Karen Khachanov, I think both players came out with an incredibly high level. Both players were serving so big and so well. Mensik very early on got into he very early on hit a backhand down the line winner and got his backhand running. Khachanov did very well at serving big, and then from there having the entire court open to just hit the next shot wherever he wanted to. And I think that both players followed each other very well to the tiebreak, because it was a very tight first set. But you did feel, especially heading into the tiebreak, that Mensik desperately needed to win the first set to have a chance to win the match. Because, as said, he played a long match against Andy Murray. In the match against Rublev, you could tell if he didn't win that second set tiebreak, he would lose the match, because he looked so beat at that point. Against Monfils, I don't even know how Mensik won that match, because he lost the second set, and in the third set, he just looked tired. When the points began, you could tell that he rallied a bit of energy, but during the break in between points, he just looked tired. So I don't even know how he made it through that. But you just knew if he didn't win that first set against Khachanov, he would lose the match. And they went to Khachanov's second 14-12 in a row in the first set tiebreak. And I think in the end, what damaged Mensik, and as said, they were so close. So it is these tiny margins that end up making the difference. And a thing I noticed throughout this first set with Mensik was the fact that, as I mentioned, I think his backhand is just a tiny bit better than his forehand. So I didn't understand why so many times, or at least enough times for me to notice that it became a pattern, whenever the chance arose for Mensik to run around his backhand and hit an inside-out forehand, he would take that opportunity, instead of just trusting his backhand. And I don't know why he did that, because every single time that I noticed he did it, he lost the point. And I think that if he had just stuck to his backhand, I actually think he could have won this match. Now, Khachanov played very well, and especially from 6-all to 12-all in the tiebreak, both players just served phenomenally well. In the end, Khachanov attacked a second serve from Mensik and ended up winning the tiebreak. And very early on in the second set, I think it was actually Mensik's first service game, Khachanov broke him, and from there, Mensik just didn't get much of a look in. And Khachanov closed out the match in expert fashion. I am very interested to see what Jakub Mensik will do for the rest of this year. I think he has an insanely bright future, and I really loved what he showed me this week. Heading over to Rio de Janeiro now, where Sebastian Baez has won his first ATP 500 tournament. Now, I won't go as much in depth with this tournament, as I don't think it was as interesting as the two other tournaments, even though this was the biggest tournament of the week. But Baez goes through Corentin Moutet as well as Facundo Diaz Acosta. Baez actually, for the second week running, beat a guy who had just won his first title on the ATP Tour. He beats Facundo Diaz-Acosta, then beats Thiago Monteiro, then should have probably lost against Cerundolo. I mean, no, I'm sorry. He shouldn't have lost the match, but based on how he played, he would have lost against basically any other player. But Cerundolo just played a dreadful match. And he ended up facing Navone in the final. And this was one of the most one-sided finals that I have seen. And I haven't been watching tennis for that long. I've watched it for a year or so. But this was one of the most one-sided finals that I've ever seen. Navone looked terrified heading into this final. And in the start of the match, the commentators kept saying that his backhand had been exceptional all week. And I don't know, I haven't watched a lot of this tournament. I've both had work and the fact that it started during the evening and ended late at night here in Denmark. But in this final, Navone's backhand, especially in the start of the match, was absolutely awful. He missed so many easy shots, so many unforced errors, especially from the backhand side. Also on the forehand, but especially the backhand side was just completely misfiring. The first set I thought was a fun little ping pong match because to begin with, Navone was dreadful and missed everything. He was broken twice to go down love 4 and Baez served to make it love 5. All of the sudden, though, it seemed like Baez maybe already thought he'd won the match because he started just doing absolutely nothing on his own accord, and he just defended. And to be fair, he defended very, very well, but he just let Navone dictate the match, and it was like Navone realized that these shots where he go big and try to win the points, they're just not landing. So he got much more into the mindset of, I just need to keep the ball in play. And since Baez didn't really do anything to put him under pressure, and he just defended, Navone could get into that groove and started to find a bit of confidence again and actually hit inside the court. And he ended up breaking Baez and taking it from love 4 to 2-4. Before Baez then started taking it a bit more seriously again and broke him once more. And then in the second set, after Baez won 6-2 in the first, it started the exact same way. Navone was just missing everything and ended up going down love 4 once again. And he just didn't recover. This wasn't a very interesting final to watch. It was very, very one-sided. And to be fair, to be honest, given the fact that I haven't watched a lot of Navone's matches this past week, I don't know how he got to this final because he just didn't look very good in this final. But of course, big congratulations to Baez on getting his first ATP 500 title. Another big talking point from this tournament was, of course, Alcaraz, who rolled his ankle against Thiago Monteiro in the first round. As far as I can tell, it wasn't that serious, and he should be back for the Sunshine Double. But of course, that was a big shame. I had Alcaraz to win the tournament. Who knows if he would have done it? I do think that the tournament would have been a bit more interesting if he had gone further than he did. But let's see how he does when he gets back. Finally, we head to Los Cabos, where Jordan Thompson becomes a first-time ATP champion. And last year, there were 6 first-time ATP champions. This year, we're not even through February yet, and we already have 5 new ATP champions. We, of course, had Alejandro Tabilo, who won in Auckland. We had Jiri Lehecka, who won in Adelaide. We then had Diaz-Acosta and Darderi, who won in Buenos Aires and Cordoba. And now we have Jordan Thompson, who wins in Los Cabos. And I have to say, this final between Jordan Thompson and Casper Ruud is one of the most fun matches I've ever seen. And this might have something to do with the fact that I had a great day. I was in a great mood when watching this match. So that might have affected my viewing of it. But I think I will go out on a limb and say this is the best performance from any player this year so far from Jordan Thompson. He absolutely blew me away in this match. He had done a bit of everything this week. He pulled a Houdini act against Alex Mikkelsen. That is one of the few matches I'd seen from this tournament in Los Cabos. Now, as mentioned earlier, I live in Denmark, so the matches would usually start at around midnight, and then the last one would start at around 5 a.m. in the morning. So I haven't watched a lot of matches from this tournament, but I did watch a bit of Jordan Thompson's match against Alex Mikkelsen, where I watched it when he was when he lost 6-love and was down I think 4-love or something in the second set. I think he was close to going down 4-love, and he looked out. Like I started to see a bit of nerves in Mikkelsen's game, but when I stopped watching this match, I thought he was out. I don't for the life of me know how he pulled through that match, but incredible scenes, I'm guessing. And then he played out a marathon match against Alexander Zverev before then facing Casper Ruud in this final. Now, in my predictions video, I had Casper Ruud to win, but I didn't watch very much of this final until I completely changed that and was like, I just hope Jordan Thompson wins. I don't care that my prediction said Ruud. I want Jordan Thompson to win, because his movement in this match was incredible. There was always something happening on his side of the net, whether it was a couple of times I noticed he started very far up when Casper Ruud was doing his ball toss, and then as soon as that ball went up in the air, he just jumped back to throw Ruud off. And from there, he just dictated the play. He threw Ruud around from corner to corner, and it almost seemed like Ruud underestimated Thompson and just how dangerous he can be. Thompson was also incredible at the net. His volleying was insane at times, and it seemed like he could just do everything. And also just the variety of shot selection was incredible. I noticed both in the short bit of match I watched against Mikkelsen, as well as in this final, he was doing a lot of like fake out drop shots where it looks like he's gonna hit a drop shot and then just hits it deep down the court, and then he would follow that up with drop shots, and his volleying was outrageous. In that first set, he went to the net a lot, and it took Ruud quite a bit of time to figure out how to really deal with that. He ended up starting hitting a lot of lobs, which Ruud had a great deal of success with, and it really threw Thompson off, and often he would have to restart the point, go back to the baseline, and as I said, restart. But Thompson was so impressive. You could tell he got nervous whenever he was serving for either set. In the first set, he stopped going to the net as much. He stopped being as imposing, but he ended up finding his rhythm again and closing out that set. I also think when closing out that first set, Thompson started hitting quite a few drop shots, and as good as he had been at his variety in his shots, the drop shots weren't a good idea. First of all, they weren't executed very well. Second of all, Casper Ruud is so fast to get to the net, to get to those drop shots, that those weren't very effective, and Ruud played some great points. But in the end, Thompson got calm and collected, and he ended up serving out that first set. Now, a big talking point from that first set, and really from the entire match, was Ruud's ability or lack of to convert his break points. In the first set, Ruud had 6 break points, didn't convert any of them. Now, a bit of that was the fact that Thompson was just very, very brave on those break points, and he specifically had an ability to hit some outrageous passing shots from the back line, and not because Ruud was at the net. Ruud was also at the baseline, but Thompson was just able to pass him, and as mentioned, he was just incredible. At the start of the second set, the roles from the first set were sort of reversed as to who did what. Now, all of a sudden, Ruud was the one who wanted to go to the net. And as mentioned, Thompson did that very frequently in the first set. Ruud just didn't have anywhere near the same success that Thompson did. Now, Ruud, to begin with in this second set, looked like he was a bit more composed, and he actually broke Thompson in the very first Thompson service game of the second set. But then he started going to the net, and Thompson very quickly broke back. Now, first, he hit a lob that, now, as mentioned, in the first set, Ruud would be the one to hit the lobs while Thompson was at the net. Now, in the second set, Ruud went to the net, and Thompson was the one to lob it. And first, he forced Ruud to hit a smash, and Ruud's smashing in this match was all over the place. He failed on so many smash attempts. And this one was another instance. And on the next point, he went to the net again, and Thompson hit a lob winner that caused him to break back. And later on, when Thompson would break again, it was just an outrageous game from him. He would hit one insane backhand slice drop shot that landed just in over the net and would spin out. And on the very next point, he would hit an incredible return backhand winner down the line. And you could just tell this is the match where he's going to win his first title. When then serving for the match, again, he tensed up a bit. He forgot his game plan. Throughout the match, he looked like he had so much clarity. But when serving for a set, he would lose it a bit. He was broken, but then in the tiebreak, he ended up pulling through and winning his first title. Now, a quick word on Casper Ruud. I think he went into this match with the wrong game plan. I think as the second set progressed, he started to go more on the defense and made Thompson create the points, and was happy to just sit back and get the ball back into play, which I think should have been his strategy from the start of the match. Because, as mentioned, Thompson had played out some grueling matches against Mikkelsen, where he had to do this insane comeback, and then an incredibly long match with Zverev as well. I think the right strategy would have been to just try to tire Thompson out. Just make the points as long as possible, because Ruud hadn't been on court for very long. He should have much more energy than Thompson. So if he had just dragged out the points, I think Thompson would have started to feel a bit of fatigue, and I think he would have lost. And when Ruud did go into defensive mode, Thompson would miss. He didn't miss a lot throughout the match. But when Ruud was just trying to focus on getting the ball back into play, Thompson would miss. And I think Ruud should have done that from the off. But that is my recap of what happened last week. If you have enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel if you like tennis content. I want to try to do these roundups every single week to tell you what has happened. And if you want to support that, tell me down below. What can I maybe do better? What worked very well about this video? Tell me down below. If you have liked it, like it, and subscribe to the channel. And have a very nice day.